Hi, I'm Barbara O'Brien. I'm an animal trainer and photographer, and I'd like to welcome you to the Empathetic Trainer. Hi, welcome back. Today I'm talking with someone I was lucky to find because I needed help. I've spent my whole life with herding dogs, and then I got an Australian Terrier. And yeah, this little guy right here is, turn him around for you. This little guy is a whole nother thing. I just want you to know he's not a border collie. This little guy has opinions, and the way I normally train wasn't working. So I went looking for someone who really understands this, and that's how I found Heather Mishefske. She owns Embark Dog Training School in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. And this is what she does every day, working with dogs and the people who are trying to live with them. Now, Kip here is in one of her classes, and I go to class and I keep thinking, okay, this makes sense. These people are really dog-centric. They really aligned with how I feel about how we communicate with dogs and how we ask them to be in our lives. So it was really great to find the school. Heather's a certified trainer and behavior consultant. She's worked with thousands of dogs, and she hosts a podcast, A Dose of Dog. But this is what she really does, is she helps people understand the dog in front of them living in a very human world. So we're going to talk about all that. Heather, thank you. And thank you for coming on the podcast. But I'm going to take poor Kip, who's had enough of being on my lap. I'm going to put Kip in his crate right next to me here. So everyone just bear with me a moment while I make noise, terrible noise, and let Kip go right in his crate right next to me.
Kip absolutely needed an intro.
Yeah, we all have to understand he's not a border collie. There we go. Okay. Whole nother thing, that dog. I tell you, opinions.
A terrier. Oh yeah, that's a different animal.
He's I'm in a crate and I'm alone and whoa, and the most ungodly sounds, Heather. So you feel my pain. You understand.
And he's a teenager. He's how old is he, Barbara?
He's 8 months old.
Oh yeah, he is in the holds of the teenager brain.
Yeah. I raised 4 sons, and I thought, what did I do this for? I've got another baby, and he's just.
This is so true.
Understand. Yeah.
Yes.
No, but we're really enjoying the school very much. Full disclosure, as I mentioned in my intro, I go to Heather's school in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. And so if you're in that local area, for sure, this is the place you want to go.
Oh,
otherwise,
thank you.
listen to Heather's podcast, because boy, we can learn a lot. Now I have to take away noisy Toby's playing it. Live podcast. Right? Sorry, Kippy, just relax there. What a good boy. As long as he can see me, he's fine. Okay. So to start off with, if someone asked you what you do, what would you say?
A lot of people say, oh, you're a dog trainer. That's so fun. You get to work with dogs every day, which, yes, absolutely. That's amazing. However, dogs don't drive here themselves. So they come with humans. And, people think I train dogs, and I do love the training part of it, like actually working with an animal. But mostly I teach people. I mean, that's really what I do, is I kind of have 2 learners. And I just heard recently on a podcast, there's a podcast that I listen to with 2 veterinary behaviorists. And actually they hosted another veterinary behaviorist on that podcast. And she said, this is the only profession where you're teaching someone to do your job. I was like, oh, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I would say that I teach people how to teach their dogs and help their dogs kind of live in this world that's very human-centered. And it's not set up for dogs. It's not specifically friendly sometimes to our pet dogs. And so how can they kind of navigate and advocate for their dogs kind of through their whole lives to just help them feel safe in this environment? I think that's kind of the biggest part. I mean, we take them into our lives and we kind of throw them in this very human world and kind of expect them to do okay. And it's kind of amazing how they actually do okay most of the time. But I would say, my biggest, I guess if I look at what I do day to day, is really just coaching people and getting them to understand their dog. I mean, that's such a huge part of living with a species that doesn't speak our language.
That's very, very true. And there's a real parallel here for me as well, because I understand what you're saying, because horses is the exact same thing. Now, horses are a flight animal, dogs a pack animal, so they're not the same. Yeah. But the way that we it's the way it is. The horses need to live in our world.
Yeah.
And so having them feel safe because they're a dangerous animal when they're not feeling safe, is just, hugely important. And so the parallel there is very much the same, but more of us own dogs than horses naturally. And so having what you say about safety, so a dog does, that's really the point, isn't it? Part of the key, so they can feel comfortable in their own skin, so they can feel comfortable with you.
I mean,
So
that's the
I love
ultimate
that.
health, right? Like that's the ultimate like health parameter. Like, do you feel safe in the world you live in? Because holy cow, when you don't, that's really stressful.
For humans too.
For humans
You know,
too, yeah, any
yeah,
creature.
right.
Yeah.
Well, we're all mammals, so the
Yeah.
cat, the horse, it's the same. Okay, well, then I'm really curious because you've been doing this for a little while. How did you end up here?
How did I end up here? So, I mean, if like in all truth, if I look to even as a kid, I think like the biggest piece that my parents really instilled in me was curiosity. And I feel like
Right.
even as an adult, like I'm curious about a lot of things. Nature particularly, and animals and things like that. So when I was a kid, I started in horses in 4-H, and I begged for a dog, like, please, I want a dog, please, I want a dog. And my parents said the day that dog does not get walked or fed, like it's going back. And I was like, I promise. And as a 10-year-old, I mean, do you believe them? Because they're 10. They promise they're going to clean their room every day if they can get the thing, but then they don't always do it. So
Right.
I promised that I would be this animal's caretaker, and I got a Springer Spaniel.
Mm,
And I started in 4-H, so I was really involved in 4-H as a kid. So
yeah.
I got involved right away with her in 4-H dog training and started taking classes, which is really crazy because as an adult, my instructors as a 4-H kid came back to my classes, which was like, I
Full
still called them
circle.
Mrs. So and so and Mrs. So and so. Yeah, totally full circle. And I just really got involved then. I mean, I guess honestly, when I was a kid, I was like mildly obsessed with dogs. I mean, remember the AKC dog book that had all the breeds in it? I mean, I was obsessively like looking through that. I worked at the Chippewa shelter. Um, most nights my parents would like drop us off after school, and one of my very best friends, her and I would go down and we would buy Carl Budding ham in the little packages,
In the little
and
package.
we would go train dogs at the shelter, and we were just obsessed with it. And it's funny to look back now because Sue, my one of my dearest friends in life, she's the VP of Guide Dogs for the Blind in Portland. So both of our lives kind of went into the dog world. My other
Wow.
very best friend from a child owns a pet store outside of Atlanta, which is also kind of funny that we kept with that
Mhm.
theme. But I started training. Bandy was my Springer's name, and then I got involved with like doing some obedience, doing some junior showmanship. I had a grooming business in my parents' basement when I was 13. I probably wasn't good at like
Dog walker. I
child
was
sitting.
walking. Yeah,
Yes.
I was walking dogs for 25 cents or 50 cents, depending
Oh
on how
my
long I kept them up.
gosh.
Because I
Yeah,
just wanted to walk the dogs. I didn't care about the money.
yeah, and look at that's like a career. I mean, that's a career now. People like professional
Right.
dog
Yeah. But when
walkers,
you're
like,
like 11 or 12, it's the
yeah.
best thing ever. Because my parents didn't let me have any pets at all. So I
Oh
had to walk other
goodness.
people's dogs. So I understand, Heather, and I showed in 4-H
Yeah,
other people's dogs, so until I got my
yeah,
own. But so yeah, it's like it's funny because when we met at the school, because we knew about each other, but we hadn't met in
yep.
person. When we met in person, we were so excited to talk to each other because
I
I
know.
felt like we had so much in common. And my husband said, "You were like two squirrels running up and down a tree. You were so excited to talk to each other because we have a
and
similar energy and similar
and that is
curiosity."
exactly how people will describe me. So that tracks. Yes.
That's so wonderful. So then,
Yeah,
your little
just
Springer Spaniel was kind of your origin story.
yeah. She was kind of the dog I showed in obedience. I showed her in AKC obedience. I got a CD on her. I did junior showmanship. She wasn't a like confirmation bred Springer, but I did junior showmanship with her. Both in 4-H, and I did like the state 4-H dog show and all that stuff, and
That's
then
huge. Yeah.
did some stuff in AKC, and then just kind of was. I mean, I loved doing it. I loved all the pieces. I loved going out in my yard and training, and
Mhm.
that was, I mean, I got her in 1983. So that was a long time ago. And methods were very different back then.
I was gonna
Um,
mention that because
yeah.
what struck me about when I was looking up schools, because I did go to a different school in my location, for one class, because it was
Yeah.
closer, because you are about 45 miles from me, because I'm in the middle of
Yeah.
nowhere. I went to the one school, one class, and the person seemed nice enough, and everybody seemed nice enough. But I was just starting to get this wave of feeling like, that her own dog isn't that happy. Like I could feel it. Like, not that
Yes.
he was, I mean, she certainly wasn't awful, nothing like that, but it was a different, they wanted different results. And it was going to be much more about what the person wanted and very little about what the dog wanted.
Oh,
And I could
yes.
feel that. And then it was such a relief to come across your information, your site. I looked at your website, read the stuff, and I'm like, oh my, that aligns. That feels right. And then I go to the first
Yeah.
day of class, and nobody's like running around jerking dogs on, like they used to do back in the day. It was all about, here's how they think. Here's how we learn to help them be good citizens and be, so that you're happy, they're happy, everybody's happy because they want to be with you. Our instructor, Pat, a big shout out to Pat, is fantastic and truly loves dogs. You can see it, and the dogs feel it when she's around them, so that's important. So I was so glad. It's worth the drive.
Oh, thank you. We do have people come from quite a ways, which is really awesome to see them
So
from
when
a
did
radius.
you switch over from, like, because I grew up with those methods of choke chains and stuff, because I'm older than you, but and it was just not that long ago that positive training using what motivates a dog, which is treats and praise and fun stuff, and when did you make that switch? When did you see that happening? Not that you were bad. It's just that we used to follow the old methods. Most of us back in the day.
And I think it's a matter of we just learned from the people who taught us, and that's what we knew, right? Like we
were kids.
We saw people. This is the way it's done, and back then there wasn't kind of a divide, I guess I would say, like there is now, of like, are you using more ethical methods versus not? Or, there wasn't kind of that delineation of methods, but
awareness. I don't feel like there was awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, my goodness, if you think back to even not that long ago, like we didn't think animals had emotions. I mean, that's
they would say
alarming.
That.
Yeah.
They would say that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in a lot of literature, like in like 1994, like we don't think dogs have emotions or animals, I guess, in general. I guess it kind of goes back to that curiosity. I had my Springer, and I just kind of, I had mentors, and I just followed what my mentors did. I went to college at UW-Madison to go to vet school. I didn't get into vet school. I went into clinical nutrition. And after I graduated, I found a little dog in the ditch. And I ILP'd her as a flat-coated retriever, and I started training her. And she was really like the first dog that I questioned what I was doing. And there were a lot of things that I read that really changed my mind. I mean, some of the really classic books out there that I recommend to people read, The Culture Clash by Jean Donaldson, which the second edition I think came out in like 2002, but originally I think it was like 1992. Is that right? I mean, that book, I went, wow, like you don't need force to change behavior. Like they're living, breathing creatures. That's
right.
Wow. Like they don't have to always do what I want them to do. Right. So I think that was really pretty profound to read that book. And then of course you have, Karen Pryor's Don't Shoot the Dog, Suzanne Clothier's book I love, If Bones Are Rain from the Sky, all Patricia McConnell's work. I mean, my goodness, like we have a gem in our state with her. And I had attended some of her lectures at UW-Madison when she was still there, like some of her ethology lectures. And I think those things are really profound. And then I remember coming across Dr. Susan Friedman, and she has an article called When Efficiency is Not Enough. When efficiency is not, now I'm not quoting it wrong. But holy cow, I read that and I went, effectiveness is not enough. That was kind of mind blowing to me. And it talked a lot about exactly like you said, Barbara, like, are we, so your dog can do all the skills, but like, how do they feel about it? What's the relationship like?
Exactly.
And Dr. Friedman's work, I mean, her work just blows my mind. I girl fan over her all the time, anytime she puts out new things. But she really comes from a place of, so you are effective in your training. Your dog can do X, Y, and Z, But is that enough? Like, as their caretaker, as their advocate, is the fact they can do the skills, is that enough to build a relationship? Is that enough to do for them? And I think it goes back to your point of, you know, we can look at choosing a dog trainer, right? And we can look at what the dog can do. But I think like you, what is so beautiful to me is watching people work their dog and just that joy and engagement on their
Ex-
face. And not because they have to do it, but it's that discretionary effort, which is what I want in training. Like, can you do more than I've even asked because you are so excited to do it, versus can you do less because you're worried about getting punished for it? And so I love seeing those. And in my past, I look at dog trainers that I have admired, and I have watched like at seminars. And I mean, I've done a million seminars and things like
Mhm.
that. And I was really competitive in agility and obedience and conformation for a long time. And I think the thing that always struck me was watching that dog like come out of their crate, or like them going to get them, and watching the dog be like, oh my gosh, it's my time. And like, I'm so excited. And I was always like, I want that. Like, whatever that is, like, that's amazing. Like, you can feel it, right? Like, you can feel that energy of like, I get to be with my human.
Right.
So I
On set,
love,
I hear you. On set, we call that happy them up.
oh, happy
And
them up. Yes.
yeah, that's kind of that's the catchphrase for the seminars I give, because we want the dog to have the best day ever.
Yeah,
And
the best day
and it's
ever.
yeah, and so like we happy them up, which throwing treats on the ground and we're not asking anything, and it's like just play, 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 play. And so when Kip comes to class over at your school with Pat, it's like he's going like this is the best, because
Yeah.
he's gonna have so much fun, and that's how I want it to be. So what people get wrong when they're working with their dogs? What do people misunderstand about their dogs, do you think?
Oh gosh. I think, it's hard because we don't really learn. Like, no one gives us a manual on, you're gonna get a dog. This is what you need to look for. How do you know they're happy? Um, and I think it's that whole, and I love where dog training is going right now, because, we have really fantastic research being done. I mean, there's a lot of like canine cognition labs and things like that. And I love following the research and the science. I just think that's really important. Just from my work as a behavior consultant, because I need to know the
Mhm.
why and what like the gold standards are, and what we're learning about a dog's brain. And I think that's lovely because we do understand they have emotion. We do understand that they have like attachments. We do understand, they do have negative and positive valence around things. And I think that we, when we work with our dogs, we sometimes we put, I think the big piece is we put expectations on them without actually doing the work. We want them to have this fantastic recall, but it's a lot of work to get that relationship to a point where they can just be off leash on 100 acres or whatever it might be.
Mhm.
And I think we have to put the work in to see things. But then I think the other half of that equation is it's a compromise. Like, we have a relationship with this animal and that we brought into our home, and they didn't ask for it. Right. And I think that's kind of a pain point for some people of going, you know, my dog didn't ask to come and live with me. They weren't like, "Oh, wait, I want that person. She looks fun." We were like, "I want that one." And so I think when we're training, when we're living with them, like we're teaching them, it's such a relationship because it's not fair, I think, ethically to a creature to say, this is how you have to do all the things. They have to
Okay.
have, I mean, they're their own little creature. They have feelings, and they have, you know, ways that things they enjoy. And I think oftentimes we, in our heads, we're like, this is the way you have to do it. And yes, there are things that they need to learn to navigate this world safely, as we talked about, and amiably. But I think we sometimes forget, like, they are their own creature. They do species appropriate things, and we
Yeah.
don't have to put the smackdown on that because they have things they like to do. So I think it's that
Mhm.
whole like compromise in a relationship. And I
Sure.
think it goes back to your point where you talk about like watching people with their dogs, and their dogs are very robotic, and they do everything precisely and perfectly with no affect. And that makes me so sad that
Yeah.
that animal can't even make a mistake. Like, it can't even make a mistake because
No,
it's
we see
worried.
that when sometimes we audition dogs, and
Uh-huh.
the best, can be super trained and highly accomplished dog and trainer pair, but the anxiety that is hiding behind that dog's
Yeah.
kind of smile in a sense, but I can see it in their eyes,
Oh,
and
you
he's
can
so
see it.
worried. He's so worried that he's gonna make a mistake, and they're not horrible, harsh people, they're not. It's just their
Yeah.
expectations are so high that the dog can't sometimes doesn't feel like he's allowed to be a dog, and
Yeah.
so what'll happen is I'll very as nicely as I can say, "Could you please just kinda go over there," to the owner. Maybe if I could just work with him a little bit, and then, you're trying to get him, like, out of sight for the dog, and then you can see the dog go like, "Ha," and then, like, we happy them up, and he goes like, "Wait,
Yeah.
I get to I can just, like, play?" And they're like, "Yeah, you can play on set, it's fun," you know?
Oh.
And, it's kind of I mean, but then some owners are like, "I can work him," but, they yeah, so and I find that in the super competitive people that want the perfection, and it's in the horse world too, or even people
Yeah.
with little kids. So, you
Oh,
know, uh,
yeah.
so
Yeah, it's
well,
that
another question
compromise.
exactly. Another question then is, what are dogs telling us that we miss, you think?
Oh, boy, they're telling us a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, my biggest role, so I teach every night, and I teach all of our puppy classes. I teach cooperative care. I teach some of the more advanced skill classes,
Mhm.
the reactive rover class. We have an adolescent class for teenage dogs, and but my biggest role here is really behavior consulting. So most of the dogs I see fear, phobia, aggression, resource guarding, like all of those things, and I
Mhm.
they there there's so much that we miss in body language, and one of the pieces that everyone gets in their behavior modification plan is body language, like learning your dog, starting to keep data on what do you see, when do you see it, because they're just so subtle and they're just not human pieces. Dogs do so many cues to deflect a conflict, and it
Mhm.
doesn't look like anything. And I'm sure horses do the same. I think animals do the same thing, but dogs will, look away and scratch their neck. Well, most of us wouldn't say that dog's trying to deflect something over there.
Yeah.
We would just miss that. That's just a normal
Yeah, no, I call
behavior.
that on Kip, it's a reset. He takes his paw and scratches his eye. Like, he'll just kinda
Yeah.
swipe his eye
Yep.
with his paw, and I saw it, and my border collies don't do that, so I thought, "Wow," 'cause it comes with, like, when I'm going like, "Here, quit," or, leave it, some kind of
Interesting.
little thing, and he does a reset, and I
Yep.
caught it like, "Oh, I see, this caused you a little bit of some thinking, and you're gonna reset,"
Yep.
you know, and, so it's a small stress single that I watch for, but of course,
Yeah.
I've been around, this is what
Yep.
I'm looking for it, but do I see when he's gonna pedal on the floor? No, I don't see that. I always miss that. Never
Oops.
catch it in the act. So
I think, yeah, it's those little pieces. I mean, they're so honest. They're so honest. We just don't, and again, no one gives you the manual of this is what you're gonna look for, you know, when your dog does these things. And so often you see those little tiny pieces of body language that we might miss, and then we see the big reaction and we think, well, the dog, it came out of nowhere. Like, it never comes
oh,
out of
yeah, well, he
nowhere.
bit someone out and he bit him
Yeah.
out of nowhere. That dog has been telling you for a long time,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
you know?
And those little stress signals are so, once you learn them, you can't unsee them. Like, it's almost, I would suspect, Barbara, you also would agree. It's almost like a curse because you see dogs out in public and you're like, oh my gosh.
Mm. The
Oh,
horse world, I see it in the horse
oh, the
world
horse
too,
world,
and feel
social
it.
media. Oh my
Mm.
gosh. Like, I can't, I can't watch it. Yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, they just tell you so much, and that's, I think, a huge part of my responsibility, like, with behavior clients, is teaching them to really read their dogs, and then it's kind of amazing because it's like one of my clients said, "Heather, it's like a superpower now that I see it, because I don't put them in situations they can't handle," and I'm like, "Yeah."
Right.
I
You're
mean,
being fair.
yeah, and you're just
You're being
advocating for
fair.
them. So I
Yeah,
think there's just so
on
much of that.
yeah, no, that's really good. You talked a little bit about how dogs living in a human world, which
Uh,
we did touch on that a little bit, but, where does the conflict mostly show up?
Oh gosh. I mean, you look at naturally what dogs do, um, and it's often in social settings. I mean, I would say the biggest part, of course, is in interactions with other humans, interactions with other dogs, and we we often will get an animal. So we find a dog, adopt a dog, whatever, and I think sometimes there is an expectation that that dog is going to be like the golden retriever of the world. They're going to love all the people. They're going to love all the things. And then when they don't, it's almost upsetting to people. But I mean, this goes back to like all the work that's been done in applied ethology. We know that, a herding breed, like what they have been bred to do is very different than a golden retriever,
Mhm.
and goldens have a subset on their genotype for friendliness anyway. So we know that they are often
Mhm.
more friendly. But I think sometimes the expectation of what we would like them to be doesn't always match up with who they are. And I think that's really distressing for people. Um, and doing behavior work, and this is interesting ethically because I think changing behavior in any creature is kind of inherently aversive. I mean, if you really think of it, I mean,
Mhm.
because we're saying we don't want you to do that, we want you to do this and I kind of do it every day, but I think we have to make the dog feel safe. We have to have the owners have some skills. But then some behaviors I look at and I think, but this is what they're bred to do. I mean,
Oh,
if
yeah.
Kip was out in the yard, like taking squirrels out every day, well, yeah,
Yeah. No,
he's a terrier.
he's a terrier, and we have cats, and so he had to learn very early that furry things that run, you don't get to chase.
Yes.
And luckily, my cats are kind of badass, and they bat at him too. And they
Oh,
have
yeah.
claws, but the no, the herding breed would. Oh my gosh, he batted me in the nose. I will never bother
Yes.
him again. And the
Yes.
terrier goes, come on,
I can take
let's do
that.
it. And I won't let them play like that. He doesn't get to play bitey face. Like the border collie can play bitey face with cats, and it's fun and they're safe, whatever. Kip could be safe. I mean, they want to play this one big cat wants to play with him so bad. I just don't,
Oh,
because I know his instinct would be if it went too far, he
yeah.
could shake him. He could. So I don't
Yeah.
allow it. It's just not allowed. And then he learned that he can smell for rats because we had a problem with rats in our chicken coop, which everyone did when we have mild winters. And
Mm,
he learned that, oh my gosh, there's something wonderful smelly here. Whatever, da da da. But I don't let him hunt them because I don't want him to, even though that's his instinct. You know,
yeah.
I don't want him to grab furry things because a cat might be close enough. I just don't want to.
Yeah.
So he gets to play with other things and release that energy, and he gets and of course the minute he showed up, the rats have left because his scent glands say,
Haha.
I'm an underground predator. I'm going to get you. Compared to the border collies who are
Yeah.
useless. So
Yeah.
so they're gone anyway. They're gone. But we were out in our fields because we have a farm, and we saw a real gopher. And he's just like, "Oh my gosh, I could get this gopher."
Oh,
And
yeah.
I had to go, "I wish I could let you have this gopher, but hey, I feel for the gopher because he's
Yeah.
sitting there, "No, no, no." And I didn't want him to learn that. So I have to adapt to let him play other ways to release all that energy instead
Mm,
of saying, "Don't be who you are. We're just going to redirect this energy into something that's
yeah.
safe." You know?
And I do think dog
Mhm.
training is it has become very more accepting of that, of what are some kind of breed specific behaviors or genetically kind of instilled behaviors that we can find
Mhm.
outlets for. Can they rip and shred a box? Can they rip and shred like a whole head of cabbage outside if they love doing that? Can they chase a flirt pole instead of hurting the kids? I mean, there's so
Yeah.
many
Flirt pole, just
fun
so anyone
ways.
understands, a flirt pole is like a fishing
Oh
pole
yeah.
sort of thing where you've attached a sturdy string and you attach something on the end of it, a toy or a bit of fur or something and then if like a fishing pole has some swing to it so the dog can
Yeah.
chase it like a predator would chase something that was moving fast, but no harm to any real creatures.
Yeah,
So
like a big cat toy for a dog, like, but
giant cat
hardier, so
toys.
it's a little hardier, especially for
Yeah,
the
because
staffies, like
Jack Russells go absolutely crazy
yeah.
for that. Yeah.
And I love
Kip
that
would
we've
like it
come
too.
to the
Yeah.
point where we can consider, "Oh, my cattle dog likes to do this, my Pyrenees likes to do this, my, sight hound likes to do this, my scent hound does this," and we're looking at what are their needs, because that was I feel like that was never talked about. I mean, when I had my Springer, you don't get to
Right.
chase things, I look back at those early dogs. Don't you look back at those early dogs and you're like, "Oh, man, like,
Uh,
if I could
But
give you
we
now."
got better, right? And not that we were
Oh, yeah.
horrible. We weren't
Yeah.
horrible, but
Yeah, no.
our understanding grows. It's
Yeah.
sort of like when if you have kids and you get to that last child, you're a lot easier on that last one because you've
Yeah.
learned. Not that you were bad to the first one, but also by the time you have 4 or 5, you're exhausted. You don't care what they do. But
Go play wherever. You're fine.
yeah, we used to say to our older sons, "Parent for me, handle it,
Yeah,
parent for me,"
you
because
do it.
these little ones are hard. But anyway, you learn more, and by the time you're a
Yeah.
grandparent, I'm a grandparent. It's like, oh, I got this parenting thing down, and I don't even have to do it now. Ha ha.
You're like, now I'm really good.
I can just spoil them, and it's really fun. But we learn, and you're helping so
Deserve.
many people learn a better path, and I'm so glad for that. So, what changes for the dog when we meet them where they are? When we do understand it better.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just a matter of welfare. Like,
Oh,
are
good.
we being better advocates for them? Are we creating better welfare for them? I mean, I can only imagine as an animal, you know, imagine, one thing you love to do that you
Mhm.
just like love to do, and you're not allowed to do that for, I mean, 12 years, like however long our dogs live.
Let
I
a
think,
dog live. Yeah.
gosh, that's kind of alarming that we don't do that. And think about your stress level when you can't, like, when I can't go out like hiking with my dogs on our own
Mhm.
property, like I get really stir crazy. I probably am not my best self. And what I see in those dogs are just behavior problems starting to get bigger and bolder. And
That
are
it's
they
good you.
Oh, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. It's really good you talking about this because you have at your own farm a sniff spot where a dog's
Yeah.
allowed to be a dog, and I think that especially people who live in urban environments and they don't have a place to let their
Yeah.
dog be a dog. But what Pat, our instructor, said is have this when you go take your dog for a walk, have some time where they're allowed to be a little loose and walk around and
Yeah.
smell and feel the world. And I'm spoiled here because my dog can run in a pack. There's the three of them, and we have this acreage, and they can run
Yeah.
actually off leash. And
Yep.
Kip has learned to stay with the pack. Fingers crossed. He stays with the pack. Very good.
The border collies will keep him in tow. They'll be like, "Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
because
back."
well, all I have to do because Pat in class, what you guys teach is the game 3,
Oh,
2,
yeah.
1. Oh, he just put his head up because he's like, yeah. Because he would not come to his name. He's a terrier, and it's like, Kip, come, Kip, Kip, whatever, forget it. He's like focused on something else. But the 3, 2, 1 game is where you use
Yeah.
enthusiasm on set. I go ready, ready. So it's the
Yes,
same
that's great.
idea.
Oh my gosh.
But 3, 2, 1 means you're gonna get a treat no matter what at the end of
Yep.
it. And I didn't ask you to do anything except to notice that I said 3, 2, 1, right? So I can call now and he can be, way far away and I can go 3 and like a bullet, he comes running
Oh,
and it's like the he's learning to come based on the fact that that gets his attention at first. So
yeah.
if anything I learned in that class, that's the most valuable for me at this moment because at least my dog will come to me most of the time. So,
Yeah.
because
Oh,
he
that's a
does
big
have a lot
win.
more he has a lot more loose leash freedom than a typical dog. So we're grateful
Yeah.
for that. So tell us about what a sniff spot is
Yeah.
and how the dogs benefit from if they can't be off leash by letting them have a longer lead in a safe environment. Please explain how that works for a dog.
Yeah, you mentioned, what if their needs aren't met, and I do see behavior problems are bigger and bolder. We were just talking about this in my research group yesterday. We were talking about exercise, and like we don't really have a definitive, like, in the research, there's not a this is what exercise consists of. Like there's not a definition of it. And we were kind
Mhm.
of all talking about exercise and just like case studies that we had had. And I think, the biggest thing we know is that when dogs' needs aren't met, you see those behavior problems get bigger and bolder. And I often will tell people, like, hey, we aren't going to solve this until we fix this. Like, we need the dog's needs to be met before we can even look at putting in a plan. And so,
Mhm.
one great space to do that is Sniff Spot. And so, Sniff Spot it's like Airbnb for dogs, is how I explain it. So, there's an app
Sure.
on your phone, and there's another one called Roam. So, there's Sniff Spot and then Roam. And Rome isn't really in the Midwest. We don't have a lot of spaces that are in that uh,
Mhm.
under that name. So Sniff Spot are private landowners that will rent you their land to walk your dog on. And the beauty of it is so many things. I mean, I work with a lot of dogs that really struggle in urban settings. And I think in the beginning, Barbara, you had asked like where do we see dogs struggle in this human world? And we walk them on
Mhm.
sidewalks and we walk them right up to one another face to face. And
Right.
as well as I do, because I'm allowed to have my dogs off leash on my property everywhere, that they
Mhm.
don't walk in a straight line. Like
Mm.
normal dog behavior when they're moving their body through space is not straight for a mile in a straight line. Like that does not happen. And so allowing them opportunities to move their body, to smell, to
Yeah.
dig, to like, find out where there was a bunny last night and a coyote and where the snake went and where the bunnies live, and exploring new spaces is just so important to them. And,
Mhm.
their brain, I mean, that olfactory bulb is tied to their thinking brain. And so we tend to see dogs that become, Dr. Horowitz says, more optimistic the more we kind of allow them to do those kind of behaviors. And so Sniff Spot is just a place that is safe, because when you book a Sniff Spot, there is no other dog there. So like, let's
Right.
say, Barbara and Kip are there for an hour. Well, during that hour, you're the only one there. There's a 15-minute block on either side, so you don't run into anyone.
Mhm.
And so it's lovely for that reason, because it's allowing dogs that might live in an urban setting, which lots of dogs struggle with that. Just the way we've almost set them up to fail by walking them on a sidewalk, but you can't like go into this person's yard and then this person's yard. I mean, that would not be legal ever either. But we can take them into these spaces that are new, they're novel, there's a lot of smells. It's very interesting. It's like a dog museum that they can
Mhm.
just smell and be dogs. And if they can be off leash, a lot of them are fenced, a lot of them are not. On a long line, they can be on a 25-foot long line and just kind of move their body in a way that would be natural for them. And just doing that a couple times a week it's amazing to see dogs' needs be met. And then other things kind of fall into place.
No.
And it's not even it's exercise, because when dogs are sniffing and smelling, they're not moving fast, they're not running. I mean, maybe they would be if they had friends with them, but they're just gathering information. And I think that is such a huge role on just meeting their needs, so that you see them be kind of more like behaviorally healthy, really, is what I would
Mhm.
say, when they're allowed to do that.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
and
in the
so sniff
horse
spots
world,
are fantastic.
yeah. In the horse world, they have an expression freedom, forage, and friends. And so when a horse, it's the same
Ah,
principle. When a horse has freedom to move, not kept in a box stall or a very tiny enclosure, so they have freedom to move, and then forage, like having some form of grass or hay in front of them 24/7, because they're for their guts, they need to eat continuously so they don't build up acid in their stomach that causes ulcers.
okay.
So, and then friends, because
Mhm.
isolation to a herd animal is the most, upsetting thing to them is
Yeah.
to be alone. So freedom, forage, and friends. And with your sniff spot, you could do a similar concept with dogs. I mean, they don't eat out there like grass, but the space, space and sniffing,
Yeah.
and we'll come up with another S
Oh,
word, but
yeah, let's alliterate that. I love that.
yeah. But anyway, I can see that because my friend who has city dogs, and she's very good with them, and they're little dogs. She has a stroller even for them. So um, I tease her about that. She teases me that I have a little dog now. But I say, hey, he's 16 pounds. He's not that little.
Oh,
Someone
he's a
said to me,
terrier.
is that a Yorkie? And I went, do I look like I'd have a Yorkie? And I love Yorkies.
Yeah.
I'm not a Yorkie. Anyway, they, they, she said, you have dog heaven. She said, you have dog heaven out there, because they get to exercise and play, and, and they're house dogs. I mean, they're not outside. They live in the house, but we go out and we do chores,
Oh,
and
yeah.
we do everything several times a day. And of course, they're all Frisbee crazy, which is great. Even Kip. I mean, so they exercise themselves. And, our old border collie lived to be 16. And she said that's
Mm,
because he's had that muscle tone and activity and
yeah.
brain his whole life,
Yes.
So I was grateful for that.
I mean, Dr.
That's why
Patricia McConnell, in one of her podcasts, maybe, I don't know. I've
Mhm.
read and listened to everything she has, but she has a statement somewhere where it's so important for predators like our dogs. I mean, I know we don't want to think of them as
Mm.
predators, but
Yeah.
to have novelty in spaces and smells. And yeah, every time your dogs go out into your fields, like something has been there. There's new things to smell, and gosh, that's just so important for their brains, just to
Mhm.
and their bodies. I mean, it's just such a
So
cumulative.
much like humans. I mean,
Yes. Oh,
because we're
yeah.
mammals, right? So we're animals too. And if we don't have
Yeah.
novelty, if we don't have, I mean, we can suffer depression. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so related when we start thinking about how
Oh my
animals and
gosh.
humans, especially mammals, because we have the similar nervous systems.
Yep.
So, yeah, this is fascinating. Okay, so I better get back to questions a little bit, because you and I, we could talk all day. So as far as Embark was started out, what did you want Embark to be? Like when you were and how long have you had it?
Gosh, so I left Mayo Clinic in '05, December of '05, and then I went into dogs full time. So And I taught at another dog training school from like 96 when I was out of college to about 2005. So
Weird.
I so I left Mayo Clinic in '05, and then I opened in Banbury Place in January 2006. Um and I bought this building in '09. So I've been here since '09. And that's interesting because I was talking about this with one of the staff the other day, and I
Mhm.
said to them, I said, I want people when they walk in here to have like a feeling. Like
Yeah.
I want them to have a feeling. You know how you go into like your favorite coffee shop, or you walk into like your favorite store, or you go to like even like you walk into Target. Like you have a feel
Mhm.
that's like equated. And I said I want people to like have a feeling when they walk in here of like they're welcome and it's happy and like all of the things. And like I mean, it's not always happy. Like some of my behavior cases are really hard and very emotional and all those things. But
Oh,
um I kind of wanted to feel. And my and so I wanted people to kind of feel a certain way. And I also, I always thought that people do so much training with their dogs and they teach them cool things and they do things with them, but there's nothing to do with them sometimes, I mean, you've trained them, well then what? Like, and so providing opportunities of things that they can just come and do, kind of in the community was kind of a big goal of mine. And obviously like ethical training methods and things like that. I mean,
mhm.
of course that was like a big goal, but um I think just to really kind of celebrate the relationship that you have, that you can like do things. I mean,
Yeah.
we have our core curriculum of Puppy Einstein, Real Life Rover, Extreme Real Life
Yeah,
Rover.
but you have a lot of activities, a lot of
We
fun
do,
stuff.
yeah. And then we have like a la carte classes, which are like 4 weeks long. Come when called, stay with me, loosely walking,
Oh,
therapy
come when
dog.
called. I better sign up for that one.
So
Come when called.
yeah, that's especially as an adolescent dog. That's the owner gravity fades at 6 months old, and they're like, "Oh, look what's over here." That's such
Yeah.
a adolescent dog. Um, and then we have all these fun classes. So I started doing these classes. I call them one hit wonders, and
Mhm.
they're just like one night out with one thing. They're not a big commitment. People's lives are busy. Sometimes they can't do a whole
Yeah.
class. And I think we have like 15 of them. And they're anything from, I have a class called Space Invaders. That is, how do you navigate an ambush by an off leash dog when you're out walking in public? Because that happens
Oh,
all
yeah.
the time. But we don't practice it. So if we don't practice
No.
it in the moment, we freeze. And so that's a one hit wonder. I have Happy Hour Hounds that's coming up, I don't know, in the next couple weeks, which is like patio manners. We have a muzzle training class. We have a goggles class. I have a booty building class for dogs. We have a leave it class. We have a door dashing class for dogs that run outdoors, like dash outdoors.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have a cooperative care skills for puppies. We have, oh gosh, I think we have, I don't
Just
know,
so
there's
many.
probably like
Yeah.
15.
It's very, very good. Very good. You spoke about this a little bit before because you said you have a group you talk to about research and learning things,
Yeah.
which I think makes is so great for a school like yours to continually to be learning.
Ugh.
So why does continuing education matter in this field?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that you asked that. Cuz I think it's so important. I mean, we all could be stuck. I mean, you and I could be stuck training how we did in 1989, right? I mean, we
Yeah.
could, but we're not. And I think it's just like you always have to ask questions of like, how can I do this better? How can I do this better? How can I do this better? And the field of, you know, dog training and the research is new. Like it's pretty, I mean, we just started to accept that dogs had emotions, right? So we're not that far ahead.
The-
But I think there's a lot of very sister science kind of pieces that come into play in cognition, in neuroscience. I mean, what is happening with dopamine and what is happening in their head with serotonin, and how does trauma? Oh my gosh, my current deep dive is the neuroscience of trauma and stress during puppyhood and how that affects an adult dog.
yeah, for
Um,
sure.
so I love that. I don't love how it affects them, but I love the science behind brain
Learning. Yeah.
development and how all those neurochemicals do or don't play a role in creating resilience in young dogs that have been through, you know, stressed moms and even just stress, like high allostatic loads of stress and things like that. But I think it's so important to stay current because it makes you think of new ways to do things. It makes you understand the dog. I mean, the more I learn about cognition and processing, and especially neuroscience behind why dogs do what they do and why certain patterns in the past have elicited certain behaviors in the future, it makes me be so much more empathetic to the dog
Oh,
that I
yeah.
have. I
Yeah.
mean, I think if you knew, like, if there was a trainer that didn't understand brain development in a neonate and a juvenile and how that affects their behavior, I mean, if I didn't know that, I'd probably still be using punishment. But because I know that, like, it gives
Mhm.
you such a sense of knowing where they're coming from and why you would never use punishment in certain behaviors. I mean, it just makes you really understand
Yeah.
why they're
We
doing behaviors.
we have that paradigm when we're working with young people that have had like adverse childhood experiences and trauma.
Yeah.
And the paradigm, the way to frame it is not what's wrong with you, which is what's wrong with you, but
Yep.
what happened to you.
Yes. Yes.
And it gives you a start, a base of empathy to begin with
Yeah.
that you can work from. And if we could look at our animals that way too, now we don't have to have them carry their trauma stories forever. Like we can't go,
Yeah.
oh, you poor thing, and we
Yeah, exactly.
never help them build resilience and change brain patterns and ways of being capable of changing pathways for a dog, a horse, a child, you know?
Mhm.
So, but at least starting with that base of empathy instead of there's something wrong with you and you're bad, which is nonsense. An animal can't be
Yeah.
good or bad. It's dog. You
And
know? Bad
why
dog
can't
is a
you do
funny,
this?
yeah,
Or
yeah,
why are you not doing this now or listening to me or whatever it might be?
yeah.
Yeah, I
So
just think it's Oh, go ahead.
I'm just agreeing with you.
Yeah, I think it's so important and that's my role, like, I mean, the staff all have to do continuing ed to keep up their certifications, but, I mean, I have to keep up continuing ed to keep my certification, which is funny because I renewed in December, and you need, like, 36 continuing ed credits, and I had 147. It's like, "Oops." But I love it. I
But you,
love webinars and things like that, and sometimes I'll listen to stuff I don't agree with just to be like, "Okay, well, this is why I don't agree with that." But I think it's so important because then you again, like, just like you said, you have more empathy in what is happening to them, and it allows you to, like, create coping skills based on their own history and
mhm,
yeah, and I
exactly.
love Dr. Christina Spalding. I'm in her Research Bites group, and I'm also in I did her Science and Action class, and, um, I've done a lot of work with her, and her PhD is in behavioral neurobiology, and I just love all of her we review, literature twice a month, sometimes 3 times a month, and we have just a brilliant group that just really dives in and asks questions, and it makes it so applicable, and some of the pieces, are not they're not directly related to what I do on a daily basis, but everything comes together, like, it all comes
Hmm.
together, and so I think it's
Absolutely.
super important.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about your prairie garden or your prairie land and your nature
Ah,
connection. You spend a
yeah,
lot of time in nature, which is
I
good.
do.
How does that shape how you see dogs?
Oh, that's such a gosh, no one's ever asked me that, I love that. I mean, I'm such a nerd when it comes to, like, being outside. I mean, we talked about meeting dogs' needs, and I think, holy cow, when I cannot get outside, like, oh, like, that is a need that I have or my behavior is not great. And I think I've just always I mean, again, coming from my parents, kind of instilling curiosity in the natural world, um, is such a piece. But, it's interesting because we have, a farm on the Buffalo River, and we have restored it to native prairie. We have 40 acres, 23 of this native prairie, and, it's such an interesting parallel to teaching raising an animal because rather than, well, why didn't this coreopsis grow? Like, what's wrong with it? It's like, oh my gosh, the conditions must just not have not been great for it. Like, how can we change it? And oh my
Hmm.
gosh, that's exactly how I look at dog training. And I look at, we've had our farm for 6 years now. So it was really interesting because in the first year that I was there, it was soybean stubble is what the farm was when we put
Right.
the prairie in. And I remember the first summer I was there remodeling the house, like gutting the inside of the house, and there were no birds there. Like, how do we live on the Buffalo River and there's like no birds?
Mm.
I put a bird feeder on and I was like, okay, what? This is weird. Like, I was so excited for all these birds to come. And,
Right.
once the prairie started growing, the birds started to come. I saw more deer, I saw possums, I saw woodcock, I saw, um, I hear the sandhills. I mean, it was so crazy how every year it was more and more and
More. Yeah.
more, and how
Yeah.
you provide for their needs, right?
And
You
they show
provide
up.
for the needs of nature, and it pays you back. And
You
so,
must have the Merlin Bird app on your phone
oh
then,
yeah. Oh,
because
I think every day
'cause
I'm like,
I
"What was
I'm
that?"
so excited to, like, find the birds in my I saw 17 or heard 17 today, different birds. And there's always some rattle
Yeah.
of a dog in the background making noise when I'm out there, but but I'm so excited to, like, I heard a different kinda owl today,
Oh,
so
yes.
I get it. I totally get it. But
Yeah, day or night, I'm out there all the time. I mean, I could just wander. I mean, I think one of my needs, if we had to, like, compare ourselves to our needs of dogs, is, um, I usually go out with binoculars.
okay.
I have a eagle nest too that I'm monitoring for a citizen science project, and we have a kestrel box that we have in a citizen science project too.
Cool.
And so I'm always like looking to see what's out there. And my husband sometimes I'm like, "Do you want to walk with me?" He's like, "Yeah." And then he's like, "Are you gonna bring your binoculars? Is this like a watching walk and a seed collecting walk, or just a walk?" I'm like, "It's always a watching walk." Like, but I could just
It's
go
like me, yeah.
wander through my prairies looking for like unusual plants. I mean, I could do that all day
Mhm.
with the dogs with me, just meandering
We're
around.
pretty
That's
we're
like,
pretty lucky. We're pretty lucky to be able to be on land.
oh my
There's
gosh,
so much of
yeah,
people that, don't even feel grass,
I
like,
know.
and this is so restorative. So you can imagine how great it is for dogs and how good it is for us. And
Yes.
good on you for sharing it in the way you do. So we're glad for that.
Yeah, and Sniff Spot,
Okay.
I have our beach is, in the Sniff Spot app, because I think too, like, so many dogs wanna go for a swim, but there's not safe water. I mean, in our
Okay.
area, we have a lot of blue-green algae. Um, our river, it's probably like 6 inches to 2 feet. It's very sandy, it's very clear. It's a great place to introduce puppies, and so I love
Mhm.
that too, to be able to give dogs that experience of, a place where they can feel safe and they can swim and they can dig. I mean, oh my gosh, dig all you want there, it's sand.
Right. Yeah. No, it's
I mean, that's a
wonderful.
need to be met, so,
People
yeah,
like
it's
that, water, of course, is very grounding. So it's a
oh,
combination of the
yeah.
water and the land. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can get to a couple practical things before we wind up today. What is one thing people could do better starting today for their dogs?
Gosh, I think listening to their needs, like, what do they need? And sometimes it might take a while to find out what that is. I think the one way, because people will say, "Well, I have a, breed that is X and X, like, what do they need?" But, the biggest thing that I think we can do for our dogs is give them opportunities in new places to smell. And I know that's hard because, people are confined by the space they live in, by having
Yeah.
transportation to get to some of these spaces, by, Sniff Spot you have to pay for. I mean, it's anywhere from usually 3 to 5 bucks an hour to like 18 for the big fenced ones.
Yeah.
But I think finding pockets to allow your dog to be a dog, and that doesn't have to be a giant sniff spot. It can be, you walk to a park down the road and you just allow them to have 25 feet of leash if it's safe enough and they can smell and be a dog. And I think it's fascinating to do that, because you look at what your dogs will find, and it's fascinating. I mean, I think it's fascinating of like,
Yeah.
what was here? I mean, I remember one of my flat coats, we were walking in Tassel, was under a tree where there's an owl that lives. There's a screech owl that is often in that area. And they were like obsessed with this spot in the grass. And so I'm like, what are they so intently smelling? I found like the leg of a sparrow. It was like this
Oh,
big in this
wow.
deep grass. And that's what
Wow.
they had found. I'm like, well, that's fascinating that they could find that. So giving them spaces to do that, I think, is just so important. And listening to their needs. If they like to shred, can we find stuff for them to shred? They like to chase. What can they chase? That's appropriate. Um, and just letting go of all of that dominance crap. Like, can we just say goodbye to that? I mean, the dog can't be on the bed and they can't they have to go first through the door, or you go first through the door and you eat first and all that. Like, our dogs don't live long enough. Like, can't we just let them have access to us? Like, do they
Oh,
have to earn attention? They don't have to
that's
earn
such a lovely
attention.
thought. That's
Like,
such a lovely thought.
you know,
Mm. Well, that was one thing to start doing. What one thing should we stop doing?
I think we have, and I suspect your listeners, this is not relevant to them, but I think we have this weird, like, control. Like, we have this creature that we can control, so
Mhm.
therefore we should. And you see this a lot on TikTok and, like, people that have big platforms, and I don't, because I'm not good at any of that. I just train dogs all day or help people all day,
You're actually working, yeah.
and I'm too old for
Actually doing
that.
that.
Exactly. Like, how do these people have time to make these big, sexy videos? Because 'Cause I'm tired
Right.
at midnight when I go home.
There
Uh, I think, let's just give up the 1970s, 1980s, 1960s, even into now that, your dog has to earn their attention. Oh my gosh, with any of my family members that I love, I would never say, to my husband, "Well, if you get a hug, you gotta do the dishes." I mean, that's ridiculous.
He
You
may do
know?
dishes because you do hug him, but
I mean,
it's not
yeah,
like it
or
doesn't have to be
whatever
a trade.
whatever it might be. I mean, when my dog needs, like, something, I'm like, "Yeah, what do you need right now?" And, they often tell you, they'll tell you if you're paying attention. And then if we just get rid of the rule, like, the ridiculous rules, and granted, there are some rules we have to have because we have to have the dogs feel safe, like, absolutely, I totally get it. Like, I love having well-trained dogs. Like, I love having
Yeah.
dogs that know a lot of things and they know how to navigate the world, but they know that because it's predictable. Like, I'm very predictable. They have been well reinforced for the things that I would like them to do. Um, but I think getting rid of that control of just their environment of you eat first and you go out the door first and they can't be on the couch and they earn all their attention. And, like, gosh, if this is like a 50-50 relationship, like, I would never do that with
Well, it
a
also seems like a
human.
lot of work,
It does seem like a lot of work.
to be so aware all the time,
I feel so bad for people that come in for behavior consults and they will write on their form or they will say to me, "I know I let my dog sleep on the bed and I know I shouldn't, but I just do." And I was like, "Yeah, you should. Like, your dog
Yeah.
isn't resource guarding the bed. Like, we live in winter
No.
in Wisconsin. Like, more is better. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
bring
Well,
them. That's why it's
I
called
have 3
furniture."
dogs, and the 2 dogs prefer to sleep downstairs, because we have an
Mm,
upstairs bedroom. The Border Collie and the Collie mix, they like to be downstairs because she just likes to keep an eye on
yeah.
everything. But Kip, I thought, "Okay, great. Kip will be down here with these guys, and he can sleep down there." Oh, no, 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 no. Kip is not going to be apart from us. So, because I have so many cats on my bed, it's easier to not have a dog on the bed. It's just a
Oh,
thing. But
yeah.
so I thought I'll just put his crate here and he can see us and he's with us because he's crate trained and
Yeah.
he can handle that. But the crate we've discovered cannot be across the room. No, no, the crate needs to be right next to my bed,
By
right
his
there. Because
mom.
he's like, now I can, and he sleeps all night and he's lovely, right?
Oh,
But it's
yeah.
just so funny because he's like, as long as you are this close, and it's funny because when I was raising my children, there was always this controversy, like, you go put him in a room and shut the door and make him cry, let him cry it out, that
Yeah.
you're not gonna let your baby sleep with. And I thought, this is the dumbest thing I ever heard. This little infant wants to be with me, of course, right? So, I co-slept with them. Now their cradle would have been right next to me, so that
Yep.
they had some safety, whatever. And then they were with me, whatever. But I never questioned it. It was like, I'm going to do what feels,
See,
you know,
yeah, I love
it
that.
feels right
Yes.
to take care of my child. And of course, they all turned out fine, I hope, right? But the puppy, he needs to be there. That's fine. I will adapt. There's no
And you
rule.
listen to his needs. Like, you listen
Yeah.
to what he needed.
Yeah, because he wasn't going to sleep. He wasn't going to be quiet. He's opinionated.
Yeah.
And you can't yell at him for communicating. Shut
Yeah,
up, be
I love
quiet,
that.
beat on his crate. What
Yep.
does he learn except to be scared of you? So
Yeah.
no, it's like, why are you crying? And by this negative attention is better than no attention as far as he's concerned. So why don't I give him good attention to take away the need to be having these opinions?
Yeah.
So, but it took, I probably wouldn't have done that a long, long time ago. I wouldn't have known,
Yeah.
we got better, right?
We got
So,
better. I call those
yeah.
dogs, I always say Scout was the dog I found after college and had her, gosh, she lived to be 16. Um, my word for her is chalkboard dog because I feel like I made so many mistakes that I
You were,
redid and I undid and I redid, and I thought, "I'm not gonna do that again. I'm gonna do it different this way." And yeah, I mean, look at all you learn from those earlier
we are
animals
so
and how they
lucky that,
teach you.
yeah, we are lucky that dogs are so forgiving.
Oh my gosh, yes, yes. Yes.
Like they just, like, as a cat goes, nah, done. Nah, like a
Yeah,
cat's smart
yeah.
enough to go, this isn't working for me.
Yep.
With a dog is just like, okay, I guess that's what we're going to do. That's
Yeah,
what you
we
want
are
to do, but I'll do
lucky.
it. So. Okay, so
Yeah.
in closing, before we talk about how people can reach you, but in closing, what do dogs understand about us that we miss?
I mean, they are very good at reading our body language. I think
Yep,
they are better reading our body language than we are reading their body language. So I think
naturally.
they know our patterns. And sometimes we don't always give them the right information in environments that they feel unsafe with, like, reactivity or whatever. Like, I think sometimes we're just not predictable. And they know that, and that creates fear, right? Like, if there's an environment and you don't know what your partner is going to do, like, you're kind of fearful because you're not sure what they're going to do. So, I mean, holy cow, they're masters at our body language. And it's interesting to hear people maybe talk about the patterns they have with their dogs, because their dogs know the minute they put on like their hiking shoes versus their work shoes, and how
Hmm.
in tune they are to little bits of your behavior. But then we will say, well, they don't understand this when I'm teaching them that, but look at what they do understand. And dogs do
Right.
what's reinforcing. I mean, they do what, it's an antecedent behavior consequence chain. Like, they will do things that will get them the thing. And we often are the reason to cause a lot of those bad behaviors. And I don't mean that in a bad way, because I think most people don't realize that they're even
Mhm.
a part of that equation. But yeah, dogs are good at reading us. Holy cow. And I think
Yeah.
it's our responsibility then in turn to be good at reading them so that we can understand what they're saying. Yeah.
Well, that sounds really fair. That sounds really fair to our dogs.
Yeah.
This has been delightful, just
Oh,
delightful.
so delightful.
Yeah, we're gonna visit each other's places because we're not too far apart,
Yes.
so that'll be fun, and we'll have to do this again sometime. How can people learn more about you and people that are local to the area? How can they find you, and what's the best resources to connect with you?
Yeah. So I'm in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. So I'm about an hour and a half east of Minneapolis, St. Paul. Um, my website is embarkdog.com. So embarkdog.com. You can find the behavior consulting, all the classes. Dawn, that works for me, is a separation anxiety specialist. So she does all of those pieces, all of our classes, but also on Facebook. So Embark Dog on Facebook, Instagram, Embark Dog.
Mhm.
Not good at TikTok because, I'm 50. So we have a
Yeah.
little bit of stuff up on there. I'm not great at it. But those are like the big platforms. And then I'm
Okay.
Heather at embarkdog.com is where you can
Great.
find
Well, we'll
me.
have all of that on the show notes too for people, so it'll be in the
Yeah.
notes on
If you
both
want to follow
the.
my farm, it's Black Dog Farmstead
Yeah. Oh, it's
in
beautiful.
Mondovi.
Heather's a good
Um,
photographer, and there's some really beautiful imagery on there as well.
well,
So
I mean, a
no, it
little
looks
with
pretty
my
good.
iPhone.
That looked pretty darn good to me. Looks pretty darn good to me. Well, I do want to thank you for taking the time. I know how crazy busy you are because we're both like squirrels up
Aw,
and down a tree. So
exactly.
I I appreciate that very much, and I'm so glad I get to go to your school because Kip is
Oh,
so. At
yay.
least I hope I'm being a better owner for Kip because of it. I hope it's
Yeah.
because we're
Well,
learning together. So
I appreciate. I'm so honored to be on here. You are a force in the animal world, so I appreciate that.
well, we'll just keep doing what we're doing, right? We'll just try to
Yes.
help those
Oh yeah. I'm
dogs
not
out.
quitting.
So
I drive everyone crazy if I ever retired. So this is gonna be. I'm gonna be here a while.
yeah, me too. Me too. All right. Thank you so much, Heather.
Thank you.
Thanks.